Hello there. You're here to watch a podcast. So this is, in my opinion, I guess 6. I have been joined by my friend Kibbles. I will explain in the podcast. I'm just letting you guys know. I am on Pookie the Wolf, twitch.tv/Pookie the Wolf. Make sure to check out OWchies. I'll explain in the bottom, and it'll be in the description down below. But make sure to check out Kibbles' channel as well. I loved having him on, and I want to have him on again. We talk a lot about wrestling. We talk a lot about video games. We talk a little bit about Marvel and Mortal Kombat, some movies. Spoilers for if you haven't seen Mortal Kombat or the Marvel series so far. But just want to say that I appreciate Kibbles being on here, and yeah, it's hope to have him on again soon, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Okay, bye. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of In My Opinion. Today, my guest is a, entrepreneur. What are your accolades? Entrepreneur,
Yeah, I guess,
astronaut,
yeah, I'm an astronaut, I'm a submarinist.
submarinist?
Yeah, it's the latest craze.
That seems like one of those things that you'd say when you wanted to be rude to a submarinist. You'd be like, oh, you're such a submarinist.
Such a submarinist.
Why does it say AKA Poopy Pants on your account?
Because that is my, name under the OWchies channel.
Oh, which we'll get to in a minute. We'll
Like
talk
yours
about
says
them.
AKA Nips McGee for me.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit. Not that that's.
Well, you haven't played with us since then,
Yeah,
so.
I know. I've been so busy with my stuff and my other stuff, which we don't talk about anymore. So yeah. So today I have Kibbles on here, aka Mr. Kibbs, whatever you know. What are the terms, the names you use? AKA Kibbles, AKA
Kibbles.
Mr. Kibe, AKA the
think that's all
Long
of them.
Jammer. Oh.
The Long Jammer?
Yeah.
Who says that?
I don't know. I heard it on American Dad. I think it's a sex act. A fake sex act that they made up. He goes, "Did you even put back the ladder? Where's the third man?" I think it was called the Tennessee Long Jammer. And then Stan goes, "Who was the other third person? And did you put back my ladder?" It was just like fake. They just named a bunch of fake sex acts. But anyway,
Gotcha.
You know, like a Cleveland Steamer. Actually, Cleveland Steamer is a real thing. Just don't.
That's
look
a real
it up.
thing, though.
Don't look it up. So yeah, we're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff. I've known Kibbles all my life. We used to do backyard wrestling. We are both avid wrestling fans, I think, for different reasons, which we'll talk about. And you're also really big on karate, which is something I wish I could understand. Not the act of it, but just the real passion for it. Like, I feel like something like that. Like, I started out as a kid doing bowling stuff because I was forced to, but you don't see me ever saying like, "Yeah, I've scored a 300 in bowling," which I think is a good thing, right?
It is a very
300 is a perfect game.
perfect. You couldn't get any better.
Yeah. So that's the concept of like being a kid. I think it'd be hard for what you did, where you had something you had as a passion as a kid, and then continued to do it even now. I mean, you're around the same age as me, so it's just like, it's the concept of you've kept with something, which is, I think, that I have never done, at least growing up. I mean, probably the only thing I can think of is gaming, but really, what kind of accolades do you get from gaming? At least back then, people would just say, "Oh, you're lazy."
Oh, back then, yeah.
Yeah.
I've said to people, I've said to younger people, like my fiance's nieces, at one point I said, like, I remember when like playing video games was like not a bad thing, but it was like you were made fun of, like
Yeah.
you were made fun of for playing video games. Like it wasn't a cool thing. It wasn't a thing that everybody did. You were seen as like this nerd outcast
Yeah.
if you played video games.
And I think growing up, you and me were always because like I have AJ, and AJ has been in videos and stuff like that. But I think you and me have been around each other the longest, like personally. Like the only other person I can think of is Chuck, but Chuck's doing his own thing, and he doesn't really play video games as much. He doesn't really. His passion is like the firefighting stuff or like the car stuff as much as. Sorry, something was bothering me. As much as yours is the karate or mine being whatever the fuck I do now.
Yeah.
This pops.
What is it you
We'll do
say
pops.
you do here?
We'll say pops. Pops and one of the big ideas that I had was for pops was that getting me and my brother together, being handy. My brother being a handy type of person. I mean, he's made his own tandem bicycle before. So it's just like the concept of him and me getting together and taking a 10-inch, a 10-inch Thanos pop and putting LEDs or something in his arm so he like lights up, like the glove lights up.
That'd be
But
cool.
he was like, I don't know now. I mean, if it comes out, it's gonna be like people are gonna be like, oh, you said you were gonna do this already, so it doesn't matter. But my brother was like, oh, I think the fist is too small to stick like LEDs or like wiring in there. And I'm like, I think because I know the mechanics of a pop, I was like, you really don't really understand the pop well enough to be like, this will work, or you got to try some stuff. And he's like worried about ruining it. I'm like, dude, don't. I could find a website that'll sell me it for like $10. I said, and it's a 10-inch Thanos. It's not that big of a deal. I said, it's not like I'm like, oh no, Thanos, my favorite character. It's not.
I mean, you're okay with taking the risk, especially because you're essentially saying like chop his arm off and.
It's exactly, and it's more so the content aspect of like that would be cool to show off and be like something interesting to do. The concept of how you like the way I thought it in my head was like one of those like home improvement shows where like, all right, now we're gonna go ahead and take the arm off and try to see if we can fit. How they do this whole thing like, oh, this is what, and then like right before the commercial they're like, but the question is, will it fit in the glove? And then they'll be like commercial, and then they'll come back like, oh no, it's no problem, and then like keep you to be like, come on back, please come back, please keep watching.
It's not a problem. The episode will continue.
Yeah.
If it was, then the episode's over.
Will they succeed or will they fail? You'll never know. Keep watching, please. Please keep watching. But I think the thing that kept us like hanging out all the time was wrestling. Wrestling's always been, especially now. I mean, now I'm more into it. Not more into it, but I'm kind of like getting back into it because it's like it always has that concept of course, a soap opera where it's just like, what are they doing now? What are they trying to pull off? What are they? And I have to say that when I started watching WWE again, because I know you watch others, when I started watching WWE again, it felt very, with COVID stuff, it felt very disappointing. It felt very awkward. It felt very cringy. But I know they're trying to do their best, but it's still that feeling of like, you feel that kind of thing of like, ugh, this is hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a whole different there's like a whole different aspect to it because you don't really realize it until it gets taken away or until you have a tremendously bad crowd. Like so much of wrestling is based around the crowd, the audience reaction, and getting that immediate audience reaction and response. And now they have, kind of what they're calling the Thunderdome. I think they call it. Or maybe it's not the Thunderdome. Maybe they call it the I don't know. They have a term for
the Teledome.
The Teledome.
I think Teledome because TVs. I don't know.
Yeah. And now they're at least like piping in crowd noise and chant, so you at least get something. I mean, there was a couple weeks where there was nothing, and it was really hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's also very interesting seeing the machine that is WWE and how quickly they can, or I guess the it really is more of a how quickly they choose or not choose to adapt to a situation. So
Ye-
WWE was doing these shows where there was no, there was no crowd. They weren't piping anything in. They didn't have the screens or anything, built yet, and they just had no audience noise. And AEW, which is a new promotion, they very quickly, I think they did one show where there was like no noise or fan audience, and they immediately turned around and started using the wrestlers who were there as extras to stand around ringside, and there would be like maybe 10 or 15 of them standing around ringside, and they would cheer and boo and chant and do all the things that a normal crowd does. And so it wasn't super loud, but like gave you some semblance of a feeling of a crowd being there.
yeah.
And it like really helped you know make the show feel better than watching a non-crowd WWE. uh, and then of course WWE very quickly, I would say probably about 2 weeks later, WWE started doing the same thing, and now they're piping in crowd noise and stuff too to make it even louder.
There was something
But
that I was watching with Blotchamania where they were playing a background sound of like Kevin Owens and someone talking, and then they cut to one of the video games, and it literally was the same sound, and it was just like they're usually like they're literally using like sounds from fake crowds, and I think that's the problem I have, where it's just like I get they're trying to adapt to it, like you said, but it's the concept that the crowd is like a living, breathing thing. Like when you watch it, it's I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, you might not be into wrestling, but when you go to a live event, it's so much more than just watching it on TV. It's just like going to a live, like you've been to live music events. It's the
yeah,
same thing. It's just like it's so much different to hear your favorite band. Just like it's so much different to hear that pop when like The Rock comes out, or like just someone comes out that you love, because it's like there's so many people out there that when you hear like Cult of Personality or like the If You Smell kind of thing, it's just like, or the Glass Break, it's just like right away you're like, oh shit, and everyone freaks the fuck out, and that's what I love about it. Like that crowd is that like, excuse me, that measure of how everyone else feels. Like people watching TV, it's just like that's kind of like it's like the canned audience and like Bang Theory or whatever, but like it's more of like this is how you feel as well. It's more like there'll be times where you watch a sitcom and they'll laugh at something, you're like, that was kind of funny, but then there's like the audience literally knows what to say. Like I'm sure there's times where you've watched and they do the "you fucked up" thing, but they're gonna bleep it out because you would say the same thing if you were there, because you're like, obviously this guy messed up something real bad that you're like, would be shouting "you fucked up." That's the fun that we went with CZW. When we went to CZWs, those were fucking great because that felt like ECW in itself. Like, well, where like it just felt like this small group of people that were just beating the shit out of each other for your amusement, and it was just like that fun thing. It felt like a small knit group of people.
I mean that is the atmosphere, I guess I will
Mm-hmm.
say that they're trying to recreate. They're trying to be the next step of ECW with a lot of the deathmatch wrestling that they do.
Yeah.
Um, and I will also say that um, you get that when you go to a show like an ECW, because it is a smaller, more independent promotion. So you're going to get a couple people from the crowd that are into wrestling and they just want to go check out this thing, but a majority of the crowd that you're going to get are diehard professional wrestling fans and fans of this specific promotion, and fans who want to have their voices be heard, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I skipped past the question earlier, and I'm sure I'll add it to add a second part of the question is when you were growing up in with karate, what was the thing that kept you doing it? And also, what was the thing that kept you like? What's the main point of wrestling that goes? That's why I keep watching. That's why I love it.
Okay. So
Sorry, it's a two-part question, but I was like,
this is a
I
two-part
was gonna
question.
ask you the karate thing, and then we got on to wrestling, and I was like, wait a minute, I wanted to ask him what kept him focused on karate this whole time.
So, in terms of karate, it was um, a few different things. It was a feeling of acceptance from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It was a feeling of having something that I could enjoy, something I could continue to get good at, something that I was good at because I spent a lot of time uh, practicing and all that.
Yeah,
And so um, you know what? To be honest, it probably was the family aspect of it. I made a lot of friends, I had a lot of close relationships there. And so that kept me going through a
so
lot of hard times. And
so you'd say it'd be like the concept of having a family.
yeah, yeah, there was like this tight knit group of people that I was really close with, and we did a lot of stuff together. We went through a lot of stuff together, and I enjoyed training and being able to go there and see them and have those friends. And I also got a huge thrill out of teaching. Um, it was really awesome. Gave me such a great feeling to
Yeah,
work with the kids.
I think that's a lot of the stuff with. I mean, I'm sure that's how it felt with BYTW, but I think more of it was you and me and whoever else was involved trying to make it happen instead of a bunch of teenagers screwing around for an hour and getting nothing done. Because it's
Yeah,
like we were the family, but we were the ones trying to put that together, and it was like that concept of like we had to make sure stuff got done. It wasn't just like yeah, we're a family, but also we have to actually do the thing that we're trying to do.
yeah. It does become uh it does become that. There's it is that family aspect, feeling like you belong somewhere, and then creating something
Mm-hmm.
is so enticing to me.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that we have together, where it's just like that's what we've been. Whether it's trying to make something, whether it's like when you do the Power Rangers, I'm like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to help in some way, any way I can, or just anything that you or me are creating. We're like, we want to try to do something that wouldn't normally be able to be done because we want to create it. You know what I mean? And I think that's a lot of the BYTW stuff.
Yeah, I love creating things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why I'm doing this here. I mean, YouTube is a lot of that, where it's just like you can create whatever you want. And I think the best part about it is like even with that and Twitch, like last night or not last night, 2 nights ago when I did the stream for Crash, it's a lot of like the I could really just do whatever the fuck I want. I could buy a fucking Crash Bandicoot Halloween costume and put it on and play the game and have people come by and watch and that kind of concept of like having that unpredictability concept is a lot of fun. It's the thing of like someone goes, "Oh no, you can't do that." Well, no. I could honestly do whatever I want because I'm creating it and I'm doing it. Unless
Yeah,
you're physically harming somebody, I think you shouldn't have a problem. So, but yeah, I get that. I think that's the thing that you and me kept very close, like with where when it came to we both had that passion to just make something. Like
yeah,
I feel that from you, where it's just like yeah, you want to build something that you want to make and make yours and be very um I guess expressive or passionate about it. I guess I don't know, but yeah, I do get that part. That's the concept that I do enjoy about being your friend for so long. Not to get weird or mushy.
yeah. That was one of the biggest things was and still is for me. It's
Yeah.
being able to create things. I'm still creating things. I'm still working on things. I'm still, figuring, stuff out. I'm taking my interests in different avenues as well. And
Yeah. And for me, it's just like, I don't know if you have this, but I have the thing where like, it's either a what else am I gonna do, or it's a, you know, why not kind of thing, or it's like a, um, like I could honestly do whatever I want and see if it works, and if it doesn't, we'll just back to the drawing board, or, find something different. Or, I think the thing with when we did backyard teen wrestling, it was a lot of the stuff where I grew more and more enjoyed by the storylines that we'd make. The how we going to make this different from everything else. It wasn't so much, and I feel like I could have done that when we were doing it, but the more creative kind of side, because I think at that point you and me were watching, like, you would always show me the TNA Samoa Joe's, Christopher Daniels, and AJ Styles like triple threats, and be like, we could do something like this or do something like that. Like the triple threats between me, you, and our friend Brandon. It was a lot of the stuff where it was, what can we do to kind of put on a show?
yeah,
And it's that concept of like enjoying something in an aspect of keeping someone watching guessing, I guess. It's just that concept of, I really want to wow someone, you know what I mean? Like, it's that really, like, create something to be like, people like, oh wow, I've never seen something like that before, that kind of thing.
yeah. Make them go wow.
Yeah, it's the wow factor.
It's the wow factor.
So I didn't talk about this on my last episode, but I wanted to talk about Becky Lynch, because for some reason, somehow I just got in this mode where in my head, and people have seen on the channel, whether you've seen the sorcery and blade episodes, the VR things, I don't know why I love her so much. Like, it's just the concept of, it's that Trish Stratus aspect where it's just like she's above like what I'm used to of like divas, where like she's actually a competitor, and like, I mean, I'm seeing now that there's more of that in WWE, which is like, it's fun to like, I'm legitly enjoyed, what's her face? Let me do this. I know I can do this.
You can do it.
I can't. It's Belair, whatever the girl's name is. The one
Bianca Belair?
Bianca. That's what I was trying to think of, the first name. Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. I enjoyed. It was a little weird with the little hair thing. Like, I always get worried that she's gonna like get it caught on something, but other than that, it's enjoyable to watch. It's that kind of, excuse me. It's that kind of concept of like, it could be just like a regular match, and that's not saying that like that's something that's surprising, but it's just like, oh, they're actually making it fun to watch. You're not watching the divas to go, oh la la, very sexy. It's like, this woman can beat your ass, and I like that. I like that concept of Becky Lynch could beat my ass, and that's what I like. I like the concept that they shouldn't be treated as a different, like, I get a little upset with the whole concept of being in, like, when they did the games, and they'd have like, oh, when you do a gender match, you'd have to tag in, when it's just like, okay, I get that, you don't want to have a, but it's like, I guess in the video games it works. It doesn't work because you can honestly be the guy and beat the crap out of the woman, and that would just be wrong. But like in wrestling, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna be like, yeah, Triple H is gonna just pedigree Ronda Rousey like 3 times until she's just a mess and bleeding all over the place or whatever. They're not gonna do that, obviously. I don't know.
Although it won't. I mean, during the Attitude Era, they did a little bit. I mean, there was the whole incident of beating up what was it, Lita, with chairs, and they were just about taken off of the air in Canada.
That was the interesting part about that, because when I watched, and I I don't think I sent it to you yet, but I had a picture. I don't think I even took it though. I was on the hunt for the Mankind. I think it's Mankind Rock. I want to say Royal Rumble match where they were fighting in the stadium. You know what I'm talking about? And he had the Rock had the like black and white Adidas like striped like get up. I think no,
Yeah,
maybe that's a different match I'm thinking of. But he
I
like
think.
beats the living shit out of Mankind. In my point,
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. He has like the black and black pants, black shirt, and beating the shit out of Mankind in like actual regular clothes. And they have the 2-pack for that at Walmart. And then I was there, I couldn't find it right away. And I was like, "Oh shit, I just watched a documentary on WrestleMania 22 and forgot how fucking awesome that hardcore match between him and Mick Foley was." So I was like, "I'm going to fucking buy Edge." So I bought Edge. Not like I'm like, "Yeah, that's like I forgot how fucking awesome that match was." And then to watch the documentary and talk about um the things they went through to get to that point. And it's just so fucking cool that I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just going to buy Edge cuz it's just that's one of the matches that I was like remember going, holy shit, that's just awesome. And it was like that was the thing with like I think Edge said in the interview, he's like, I fought so hard to get like a hardcore, like a no rules hardcore match, and he's just like, I wanted to just be like a holy shit kind of to have Mick Foley's moment, like his WrestleMania moment,
yeah,
and that was when you said the whole chair thing with Lita. Lita was at one point she talks about she's like, I just try to get in there and just try to be one of the boys and try to be able to do exactly what they can do. And it was like they were talking about the part where she like gets in the middle of it and gets like I think
yeah,
her head taken off the apron and they like almost like knock her the f out. Or I
yeah.
think
That
like
was crazy.
yeah, and they were like worried about her, and she's like, oh, she's like, I'm fine. It was fine. I just wanted to be part of the group, and she's like, I always like to have fun, just be like I can do exactly what they do, and it's like that's pretty cool because especially in that time period of like Edge and her being bad guys, they're the two people in that documentary who like talk the most about it, and it's just like it's good to see them drop the things and go, yeah, we just wanted to have fun with it and give Mick Foley his like big match of WrestleMania because he's had moments, but he's never had his WrestleMania moment, and that was the whole concept of doing the match. It was fucking just an awesome, awesome thing. I also watched the one on Eddie Guerrero and Ray for the Royal
Yes.
Rumble thing, which is kind of, I mean, I get it because it's unexpected, but the concept of him coming in at one and then winning it, I'm like, that's just such an on the nose thing to be like. I mean, I guess it's to build him up. He is a legend. Like I consider Rey Mysterio a legend. He's such a small dude, but he's like I used to watch him in WCW before I watched just WWE and before they bought him out. I remember watching Ray and being like, this guy's fucking awesome. This guy gets just thrown around everywhere. It was just that concept of like this guy just fucking jumps and just gets thrown and just doesn't care, and just like that whole cruiserweight division because they had like Psychosis, and I don't think Eddie Guerrero was that like big of a high flyer type of dude, but like those type of guys, it's just fucking crazy. And then like I
Yeah,
think at a good point, him and I can't even remember the name, Billy Kidman, him and Ray were like tag team champions I think at the time, and I would just watch them on WCW. And I think it's so funny because wrestling now has been such a big part to me. But I remember when me and my brother watched it for the first time, we put on WCW and we were laughing hysterically at Chavo Guerrero winning his match and having one of those horse heads on a stick and riding it around the ring because he won. And we're like, what the hell is this? And then we kept watching. And we just watching it more and more. And then we finally saw Goldberg. And Goldberg was that big, like, oh shit, this guy's awesome. And you just keep watching. And it's just like one of those things we didn't understand because, our uncle used to show us it. And then we were like, whatever, Hulk Hogan and Jake the Snake and all that. But then we were like, yeah, we don't really care for it or whatever. But I don't know.
he was. Goldberg was like, "I'm come up in here and fuck shit up."
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of documentaries on wrestling now, and I've watched one on him. And I don't know if you remember the situation, but the whole streak thing on WCW, um, you could tell that Kevin Nash is super bitter about it. Because he's like, he always talks, like, during his interviews, he talks shit and just is like, doesn't hold back. He's like, hey man, you know, I don't get why you could just come in here and just fuck. And like, you could tell. And then he's just like, he goes, yeah, it wasn't my choice for me to break the streak. And Goldberg's like, yeah, I think he was the reason why, because he got on like the board or whatever. And he was just talking about like how unfair it was. And then he just he just looks like, yeah, man. He's like, I didn't fucking do it though. So he's like, he's got that story wrong. And it's like, okay, you're a little bit bitter about this, even though you were the person who did end his streak.
Nah, bro, it wasn't his decision, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's I don't want to talk about wrestling the whole episode, and we're like halfway mark.
Yeah,
I have a
halfway
question
mark.
for you, and it was out of nowhere because I didn't expect to watch it last night. But have you seen Mortal Kombat yet?
I have.
I have as well. Last night, I enjoyed it. Um, I told AJ, and this is spoilers for everybody. So
Spoilers.
if you haven't watched Mortal Kombat, just skip to the point where we're not talking about it anymore. But or just don't watch it until later. But the concept that I had, and I'm sure it might have flew past you, it might not have, but I told AJ, I said, I find it weird that we had a movie that wasn't really about the movie. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, they never did the tournament at all. I said, the tournament never happened. He goes, well, yeah, they're building it up. I'm like, I know, but it's the fact that they named it that. And they go, oh, by the way, the tournament isn't started yet. And tournament hasn't started. It's not starting yet. And the movie's over. Goodbye. And he said the one thing that he noticed was that it felt like the last fights were like rushed. I'm like, it did feel that way, but like I still enjoyed, I don't know, the concept of it being done so quickly. Like I don't care if this is a quick thing. It's like Iron Man, where it's just like Iron Man, just let him do his thing, enjoy it. If we can set up something else later on down the road, we'll do that. But if not, no big deal. Um, and I really enjoyed the fact that it did a good job of making me feel like I was watching an actual Mortal Kombat movie and didn't feel. I mean, some of the stuff was kind of corny. Like Liu Kang and Kung Lao kept saying stuff that was like in the game, like flawless victory or fatality. I'm like, all right, dude, don't do that thing.
Well,
'Cause
you always knew that was gonna happen, though.
yeah, there was gonna be corny like lines in there, but I didn't want it to be like cringy like the original two movies. So it was just like
Yeah.
one of those things where I'm like, I don't want it to like don't always do that. I think they should keep it very serious, especially since like it was R rated, so like they're ripping people's heads off. Like there's a point where Goro gets his arm cut off. Like Goro dies in the first original movie because he falls off a cliff. It's just like or get punched in the nuts. It's like so comical and campy that it's just not like, oh, just imagine getting his arm cut off and then his gut opened up and then he just kind of like dies and falls on the ground, or like what happened to, oh no, Sub-Zero just got burned alive. Never mind. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was a fantastic movie. And I did notice that they went the whole movie and they didn't have the actual tournament. I was also wondering how they were going to piece that together, because the week, what was it, the week of the movie, so like earlier this week was when they started there started being all those like I don't want to call them press releases, but there was all those like things about
Junket
how
things. Press junkets?
yeah, and they were talking about how like the actor who plays Sub-Zero is like signed for like 3 movies or 4 movies. Um,
Well, what's
and
the story in one of them was like that his brother comes back or something like that. His brother's in it and goes like, "Oh, it's me," or I'm him, but I'm the same person, but I'm his brother or whatever, and I didn't kill your family or whatever. And I know Quan Chi, was it Quan Chi? What am I thinking of? Um, yeah, who's the guy who really kills his family? It's like something like
Oh,
I think it's Quan Chi, the bald-headed dude. You know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah.
Because it's like he really killed his family, and it wasn't Sub-Zero at all. But like they're blatantly like, no, this is definitely what happened.
I mean, yeah. For the movies, they're clearly going Sub-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So they said as long as the movies continue to be, or the director had said something like, as long as the movie is successful and Warner Brothers wants to continue, he has it, like, I guess he has the idea, or the overall arc for
Yeah.
it is supposed to be 3 or 4 movies. um so like that had come out earlier in the week, and I had kind of been like, okay, so like that tells me that we're probably we're not going to see at least the end of the tournament.
Yeah.
I was talking to my cousin James. Well, I was talking to James about it, and I said the whole concept of the tournament is um, cool. It's also hard to pull off in movie format,
Yeah. Yeah.
because in a game you're like, oh yeah, we'll just fight, and like I'm just this one person who's fighting, and it doesn't really matter who I fight against, right?
Yeah.
um, because it's not, when you're playing the game, it's not technically presented as a tournament format. You're just fighting each of these individual people in a quote unquote tournament. But in a movie, you get stuck in this weird uh, middle area where you have to set up sides for the movie. And then when you set up sides, you then have to go like, okay, yeah, but in this tournament format, we need, uh, one guy from the good side, one guy from the bad side, one guy from the good side, one guy from the bad
Yeah.
side, because we can't have two of the bad guys fight each other, and we can't have two of the good guys fight each other.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, maybe you could pull off one, like I wouldn't do it more than once, but you could probably pull off one fight in the movie where the good guys fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
But like in reality, for an audience to watch, you don't want to see the bad guys fight each other, and you don't want to see the good guys fight each other. So you get into this weird middle ground where you have to kind of like go back and forth with the wins, and it's like it becomes a very predictable um, thing.
Yeah. I think they did a good job of like it wasn't like a they didn't make it too official where it's just like whenever someone would start fighting it'd be like fight or so and so versus so and so fight. Um excuse me. And I'm sure they won't do it when they do the actual tournament, but like I was like, oh, like I was going through the not only looking at Easter eggs that were like, because I got back into it around when 9 came out.
Hmm.
9, 10, and 11 I really do love because the way they format the campaign is just really fun. Um, but and they do that like you said where it's just like this good group and then the tournament itself like the bad group trying to keep them from winning. And like they do a good job of like Raiden and Kung Lao and Liu Kang and all these people on like this good side to keep Earth normal, and then kind of have these like sides who are even if it's some people in the tournament where like they're not really for any side, they're just in the tournament because they want to compete or whatever. Um, but there's times when there's be fights where it's like Reptile versus Kano or just random like Sub-Zero versus Jax or there's the different fights where they were doing these like, oh, it's so and so versus so and so or this person versus this person. This is enjoyable to watch. And it was like that concept of, and I think Kano was a big part of that movie because he is usually in the movies inherently like just the bad guy that Sonya's looking for. But in this time they're like, oh, they both know each other. She knows he's a bad guy, but he's not like sold on killing him. She's just like, he's a bad guy, but he has this thing as well on his arm or the birthmark. So it's just like they have him as part of the movie to be like, this is how he gets put into it. Because I'm sure like if he didn't have the birthmark, they wouldn't give a fuck him being in it or not. You know what I mean? Like he was I think a good part. Not only that because of the fact that towards the end where he like betrays the team it's that kind of concept of like he's a good what's the term they call it? He's like the Infinity Gauntlet, where it's just like a good what's the term? Um,
Um,
I'm trying to think of the term because it's like the Infinity Gauntlet and the stones were a big MacGuffin. It's like a
oh,
big
okay.
MacGuffin for the story where like Kano was one of the guys with the like. I think if he didn't have um, a birthmark thing, they wouldn't give a shit about him. But the fact that he had a birthmark, he was like, oh, he's chosen, so he needs to be part of it. Anyway, he might be an a-hole, he might be a complete awful person, but he still has to be doing this thing because he is, it drags him through the story so that way you're like, when he betrays him for his own personal greed, it like makes sense. Um,
I liked so personally I liked the whole birthmark thing because it
mm-hmm.
gave a logical explanation as to why certain people are fighting in this that otherwise
Could care less.
yeah, otherwise it wouldn't have made sense cuz like we're fighting for like the fate of Earth or whatever and it's like why would Kano
Yeah.
care and be in it?
Why would he give a shit?
Yeah, so like it gives a good I thought that was a really good movie adaptation or not adaptation, but a really good movie change that I think works really well for the movie that doesn't necessarily have to be and I don't think is in the games at all.
Yeah,
The
I,
whole
I,
birthmark
I
thing.
don't
I but
think.
and I
Yeah, go
thought
ahead. Sorry.
I thought it was like a really well done specific movie decision.
It's a good point for the movie to be like have this driving force to be like this is why they're here because they've been chosen and I like the concept that if you kill that person you become it. It's like a
Yeah.
concept of like you're the champion of Earth because you've killed someone who was the champion of Earth. It's like you take that title from them. That's pretty cool. Um, but like there's a lot of people that like I enjoyed. I mean my favorite has always been Reptile. I liked him as the ninja thing, but like they have him now more and more like just a lizard guy. So I was like, whatever. It's and he was pretty cool in this movie too, even though he got his heart ripped out, like literally.
I
Um,
was wondering if that was supposed to be
I
Reptile, because I was
assume it
like, is that
was.
Reptile, or is it just a creature that he sent after him?
I assume when Shang Tsung was like send so and so, I'm like that sounds like something that like Reptile would be, and like he almost seemed in the fight seemed very sentient but very animally as well. Like he was very like walking on all fours and hunting down, like kind of like Predator,
I mean,
but
he was
more
straight up a lizard.
yeah. But I mean, it seemed like he was smart enough to. He wasn't just like an animal who just was like he wasn't jumping on Sonya and just trying to rip her head off. He was like more of like, when he got stabbed or hit, he pulled the knife out and was like, okay, I'm cloaked again. It was like he seemed
Okay, I
smarter
see what
than a
you're
normal
saying.
animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was in I very much because I never really am huge on it. Like I would be super psyched for a Tekken movie that was good because I know there is two of them out that are garbage. Um, but and like that's one of those things where like I know the lore really well, but I was surprised how well I knew a lot of the stuff in this. Whereas it's like three or maybe four things that got me that I was like excited for was when Cole was looking at the cork board that Sonya had. I saw
hmm
Nightwolf and
Yep,
one
I
that
saw Nightwolf.
yeah, and Koda Khan, which I was like, oh shit, Koda Khan's like a newer character. Like he's like came in and I think on 10 or maybe 9, and he's that like I think it's like what's his face is like he's like Shao Kahn, but he's more of like Earth and loves Earth realm, and he doesn't have an issue with them, but he like he's not as like vengeful or very like I want to take over some kind of world. It's more of like a he doesn't care for Earth realm, but he doesn't want to be like you all need to go fuck off or I'm gonna go take over for you, or take you over. But
Yeah.
him being in there having a stat like there was a bust in one of the pictures, and I'm like, oh, that's Koda Khan. I was like, that's pretty cool. It's like to see a newer character in the thing, and
hmm
then Katana's fan in one of the
Yep, Katana's
images,
fan.
and then Shinnok's medallion Kano steals, and then he tells him to put it back. I was like, oh shit, that's Shinnok's medallion thing from, like, that's the big thing in, I think, 10, where I think Raiden ends up taking it and becomes like evil or whatever because he has his Shinnok's medallion. But Shinnok's like the I guess a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. I couldn't think of, because I get him and Quan Chi confused because they're both like gray skin and gross looking, and but they're very
Yeah.
very humanoid. But the medallion thing was a big thing too, where I was like, oh shit! I was like, that's like a big plot point for one of the games, and the fact that they like made a big deal out of like him taking it off the thing and be like, oh, put that back.
Put it back, sucker.
Yeah, but I liked it. I liked the concept, like you said, where the what did they call them, the whatever, like that hidden potential.
Like, yeah, they're like abilities.
Yeah,
I forget the term they used.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was like, I don't.
But I like that they did that, and
Yeah.
it wasn't just like you have the mark and you can just do these crazy things.
Yeah, because it explained a lot of the powers that normal humans would have to be like, you know, excuse me. It wasn't like, oh, someone surgically implanted a laser in Kano's eye. It was like he was able to do this because of that thing, or Liu Kang can throw fireballs, or Sonya Blade can blow woman's stomach out of her fucking chest without fucking having her destroyed, or Jax being the pulling up the rock thing. I thought they were gonna like get him better arms.
Yeah, I thought that's where that was going, and then at one point I was like, oh no, wait, it totally makes more sense if his ability gives him the better arms.
Which by the way, is weird.
Also doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because like the monks have metal arms that they can give him or something. I don't understand that part. They're like, yeah, he has metal arms now. They're a little bit whiny and little, shriveled up things, but don't worry, they'll get bigger when he finds
unlocks his power.
Yeah, that's just a weird. Like, I don't hate the character, and I loved it. And I think when I sent the trailer to the other guys, the Waffle Town 2 people, like Bones and all them, and I was like, you watch, that black guy's gonna his arms ripped off. Like, it's gonna happen. But it's just one of those things where like it's really fun to watch something that I think not everyone knows and be like, well, this is gonna eventually happen, or this thing will eventually happen. I'm surprised they brought, like, I thought Sonya would never really get a power at all. I thought she'd just be like, okay, whatever. Because
I was a little. So I guess like my one like thought with that was like, I understand why they chose the people that they chose and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, but like I did also feel kind of weirded out that they were like, yeah, here we go, we're gonna, and like here's our like main, kind of female character, but she's not gonna have the birthmark, and she's not gonna have any cool powers, and she's just gonna sit around and get Jax to feel better.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just felt kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, in my head, I was like, well, who's she gonna, like, I eventually was like, who's she gonna kill to be able to shoot fucking things out of her arms?
Yeah.
I was eventually
and it totally makes sense for her to fight Kano to get it.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense why she's like, I want to fight the bitch with the teeth, and he's like, you get Kano. Like, he specifically tells her, like, nah, you're gonna fight Kano.
Yeah, I don't like the fact. I mean, I hate the fact that any character that will die, even if it's a bad guy. Like, I'm a little upset to be like they have to find out a different way to bring back Sub-Zero. But like Kano and Goro dying, I'm like, oh, that's disappointing. Like, I really wanted them to stick around. Like, Goro was a big one where like I'm sure he'll come back because him and Sub-Zero are the two that got like all
transported.
Yeah, black mucked or whatever. But I really did enjoy seeing a lot of the characters like all together, and I didn't really like. I don't know. I felt like they put a lot of like Melina's not a big deal, and what was the other guy? Reiko or something like that. The guy with the hammer that fought Jax.
Oh yeah.
That guy, I'm like, I don't know who that is. That guy can go die. Whatever. I don't care. But I don't know. It's very weird to see. Like this movie made Sub-Zero look like a complete badass. I did like that part. But yeah, it's just I did really enjoy it. I wanted to bring that up to you because I was like, oh, I could talk to Kibbles about this. This is right up his wheelhouse.
Because Sub-Zero is a badass. genius.
He is, and it's weird because I think that like, oh, you think good and evil, and you think Scorpion's the bad guy, but I always forget
It's
that.
not, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh right, that's not
I
the case.
remember finding that out, and I was like I remember being like, wait, what do you mean
Wait,
Sub-Zero is
what?
the bad guy?
Sub-Zero's the bad guy?
Wait a minute.
I don't know.
So I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Did you think that Scorpion was gonna come back from the dead? Like, obviously, Scorpion was gonna be in there in some way to fight Sub-Zero at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think he was gonna come back from the dead to do that? Let me explain. They kept talking about how Cole, the kind of main character, how his like lineage and blood is, derived from um, Scorpion,
Mm-hmm.
and so he keeps having those like flashing memories
Yeah, of his
of
face or
Scorpion in
whatever.
hell. Yeah, and so what I thought was going to happen, and basically I thought this all the way up into the middle of
Like the
the
fight with
Goro
Goro.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was going to become Scorpion.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was like, oh, like when he unlocks his ability or whatever, like he will have the garb of Scorpion, and like because he has the knife now, like he gave him the
Yeah.
knife, and I was like, oh, he's gonna be like literally be Scorpion.
Yeah.
But he ended up with it, and then when he got his own power, I was like, oh, I guess Scorpion's gonna like come back from hell
Which yeah,
as opposed to being Scorpion.
I kind of expected that just because I know he's always been like a demon, essentially. Like he's kind of just a, nether realm demon, which I think that's a little weird that they didn't mention that. Whereas like they mentioned Outworld and they mentioned Earth realm, but they never said like they were like, oh, it's hell, not nether realm, it's just hell. And he's
Yeah.
like, he's in hell. But yeah, I thought that was a little weird, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant on Cole because Cole seems like it's just like for the movie. I don't think there's anything for that's been mentioned for him, but like
Right.
it feels like the audience member, like the person watching, being like, oh, this is a guy that we made strictly for the movie, and you can enjoy him in that way. And I don't know. I did like the end there with the hint to Johnny Cage. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was
knew it
waiting
was
at
him
the
as soon
end.
as he was like, "I'm going to Los Angeles." I was
Yeah.
like, "Johnny Cage."
When he said Hollywood, it's just like, okay, you know what he's going for.
Yeah, I, so I'm, because they want to make this like probably a trilogy type thing. I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if the second movie is them kind of gathering forces, training. There'll be some fights, like maybe Shao Kahn will try to attack again or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of like, I guess the second one is going to turn into this like we're going to try to find all the people before Shao Kahn can find them himself and kill them or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fully expecting that like they'll be like, oh shit, it's time for the tournament, and that'll be kind of like the ending of movie 2. And
I
then
hope
3 will
that'd be
actually
cool.
be the tournament.
Kind of like Pirates, where they like halfway during the movie they just go, all right, we're gonna make another one now. Wait for the
Yeah,
third
I mean,
one.
I will say that I was like, oh, like I didn't know that there was like that they would do the whole tournament or anything um in this movie. And I was like, okay, and then it was, I guess, about halfway through the movie, and they, were still doing their thing, and they were training, and I
Yeah.
was like, the tournament's not happening in this movie.
You're like, okay, this isn't a thing that's gonna be happening. Never mind.
And I'm okay with that. I mean,
Yeah.
the
build-up
whole
was good.
kind of point of this movie was to build in the backstory of these characters and to build in the backstory of the tournament and to get you to start caring about some of the characters, so that way
because one, you're not gonna
means something.
Yeah, for one, you're not gonna really want a bunch of people just being like shoved into this thing and being like, these are characters you need to know about. But also, it's the fact that like you need to establish the main characters and be like, okay, we can introduce other people. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they killed off some of the main people in the second one. Be like, okay, we gotta kill off, I don't know, one of them. I don't know who, but like have someone in the group die, of course, and have maybe like champions that really don't matter, and be like, yeah, that person's gonna die, like fucking, I don't know, Striker or whatever, and be like, yeah,
Yeah,
Striker dies. For some reason, he brought a pistol to the tournament, and they just killed him, and he doesn't really matter. But
yeah. It's the the movie format makes it difficult to do certain things. The movie format makes it difficult to create the backstory for the characters and the tournament and have the tournament all within
yeah,
one movie.
but I agree with you where
You
it's
can
just
more
like,
easily do that with a uh, with a series like a TV show
mm-hmm,
because you can build in an episode that is based around a fight or two, and then you can kind of build in those characters' backstory and get people invested in those characters.
yeah,
Um, you can't do that in
yeah,
a movie. Like if you think back to like they were campy,
yeah,
but it's like if you think back to the 1990 movies, um, it's like yeah they had the tournament in that first movie, but like there basically was no like backstory as to who these characters. You know what I mean? Like there was
yeah,
nothing about who this Liu Kang was, and
mm-hmm,
I mean they. I mean, I guess they kind of do it Liu Kang, but like Liu Kang is kind of the only character that they give backstory to in that
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, they kind of have him as the main point, and I feel like they did more of an ensemble thing. And I think you're right, where it's just like they kind of go, "Hey, we're not going to be able to do this all in one go. You have to kind of bear with us and enjoy these characters for now, and then be like, we'll bring them back and do." Eventually, I think the big event will be the tournament, and then even if they, want to do more, they could do like the Shinnok or other characters that have been main bosses in other games, like instead of Shang Tsung, and
Yeah,
do like,
that may happen.
yeah,
I When they announced they were going to do more movies, I was like, "Oh yeah, this will be like kind of an introduction, then there'll be the second one to kind of like really continue to set everything up, and then the third movie will be the actual will be the tournament."
I think a lot of it was be like, I think a lot of cool things would be to build up Shang Tsung to be like this big badass, and then be like, okay, when they finally get to the point of killing him, it'd be like a big relief, and then work on the next person if it's like, um, Shao Kahn or Shinnok or whoever the fuck they want to do next. Um,
Yeah.
I guess it just depends. Like even if they do like Liu Kang going evil like he does in one of the games, it's just like whatever they want to do, and even do like maybe generations later down the road and be like Cassie Cage and Jack's daughter and all that. But I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they could do with it.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it though.
I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I based on the trailer, I really thought I was going to enjoy it. Like I legitimately was going in there going like I think I'm going to enjoy this movie. Um, I went into it with the expectation that um, the story was going to be okay. The acting was not going to be great,
yeah,
and I was going to see a bunch of kick-ass uh,
yeah.
action sequences.
I think that
And
was the
that's what
one
I got.
thing. The one thing that I was expecting was the good fight scenes, whether or not it was like, people were good at acting or characters. I think the woman who plays Sonya Blade is really good. Like it makes me feel like she actually is, it makes me feel like she's the actual character. It feels very, I don't know, it feels very right.
Yeah. Um, so like that's totally that's what I went into there going, and
Yeah.
I got that, and I'm
You're
was
satisfied.
super satisfied with
Yeah.
the end result.
But it's weird. It's weird when you like for me when I went to watch it, I'm like I forgot how much I knew about the series to be like like pointing out stuff and be like, "Oh, that's so and so," or "Oh, that's a reference to whatever." It's it's that concept of like, oh, I'm surprised of how much I did know or how many characters. Like Cabal, I was like, oh right, I know Cabal. He like moves super fast, and then of course he fought Liu Kang, and I'm like, oh right, yeah, there he goes, moving super fast. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. I enjoyed it. I did want to bring up one more thing because I don't know how much time we have left or how much time you have left. I could honestly talk, but you have to go somewhere eventually.
I've got like a whole nother hour.
Okay.
If you
I didn't
want
know
to
if
keep.
you had to leave at a certain time. I mean, you said you were only going to dinner with to go see your family.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna leave till like 4ish.
They're not gonna be like, "Where are you? You need to be here at
Mario,
4 o'clock.
we're so
Our
alone.
appointment is 4 to 6. What's your problem?" But did you hear about going back to wrestling? And I know people are gonna be like, all they talked about was wrestling and karate stuff or video game stuff. Um, did you hear about the
We're like,
Mickey
damn
James
straight.
thing?
I did.
That's fucking weird. I didn't
Yep.
understand it right away until I actually read the article about. So what happened was is that she fill in the blanks for me because I'm a little confused too. She got released,
She
and
got
then
released.
someone sent her a bag of like just her crap in a trash bag
So
or
yeah, so she got released, and the wrestlers must have stuff at the like performance center and
okay,
stuff at wherever they're the arena that they have the screen set up at.
yeah,
Um,
if it's
I
working
guess
at
they have
all.
lockers or something.
Yeah,
That part I'm not 100% clear on. So they like sent her stuff, which totally makes sense. Like that's what you do when
yeah.
you
When you
fire somebody,
get
you
fired from your job,
send them.
they have
Yeah,
a
they
they have a box full of their shit, and they walk out and do the walk of shame, and
yeah. So she obviously wasn't there, so they shipped her stuff to her, which a lot of places do. They'll shift. They'll ship the stuff to you,
mm-hmm.
and so she received a box, and then inside of that box was a trash bag, like literal
Yeah,
black trash bag that had like an index card with her name on it, and her shit was just thrown into a trash bag. Or I shouldn't say her shit.
it's
Her
fucking
stuff was
weird.
just thrown into a trash bag.
That's fucking weird.
And so she tweeted and was like, "This is like super disrespectful. Like I
Yeah,
can't believe that.
especially
Like
Mickey James. Like
yeah,
that's like someone is like been in like WrestleMania type. It'd be like one thing. It was like fucking I don't know. Name a wrestler who doesn't fucking matter. I don't fucking know. Someone who hasn't been, you know, in a huge kind of thing, and be like, yeah, fuck that guy, and he can still complain, and I get, be like, okay, that's kind of
I mean it's
disrespectful.
still disrespectful.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want that to
regardless.
happen to anybody."
But in your head, if you were that person, why would you do that? Like, why would you be like, I'm gonna send this to Mickey James. I hope that she doesn't feel this is disrespectful. I'm gonna send it in a trash bag. That's just fucking weird.
Yeah, so one of the big things that kind of one of the things that happened that came out of it was she tweeted about it, and
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of other wrestlers who have been let go, started tweeting back, retweeting and tweeting back at her and saying like, yeah, this happened to me too. And
Oh wow.
um, I found it incredibly disrespectful, and like, people aren't saying anything because they don't want to hurt their chances of working with the company again,
Yeah.
or uh, or they're like, this is like bullshit, but I'm just gonna let it go because I'm out of the company. I don't have to deal with it, and I'm just gonna let it go.
That's a fucking shame.
Yeah, so that was like yeah, it was a big thing because of obviously like it happened in general, but the like big thing that came out of it, or the reason why it's getting one reason why it's getting so much traction is because all these other wrestlers who've been released are coming out and saying that the same thing happened to them.
Damn.
Um,
That's fucked up.
Yeah, which eventually led to
Vince?
WWE firing
Yeah.
Mark Carrano, who was the former head of talent relations.
Fucking dumbass. It's just like
And what?
logically, even if you're like a manager of anything, you just don't fucking. You're like, oh, fucking get the fuck out. There's your shit. Get the fuck out. You still be respectful regardless. Especially like with,
Yeah,
especially with like WWE, you could that person could come back, eventually come back and be like, oh, I remember they fucking gave me my shit in a trash bag, so I wanted to say no. Go fuck yourself. I'm not coming back. Like
yeah.
Samoa Joe went upset me. I was like, why Samoa Joe?
Uh, I think I heard part of it is that they weren't going to clear him to wrestle, and he was frustrated with his spot. I don't know how true any of it is, but
Yeah,
I've heard some people saying that a lot of the people that were let go were people that, were talking, complaining, were unhappy with their spot,
position. Yeah. Well,
which is fine.
yeah. I mean, if he's happy with it, I'm sure he'll go somewhere else. Um, but yeah, it's weird. I haven't really, and I know you're watch everything. Is there still a TNA?
Yes,
Okay.
they're called Impact Wrestling now.
Okay. Okay. Who's big on that?
Um, you mean like who are the big
Yeah,
wrestlers that
yeah,
are
yeah.
on? So they have Sammy Callahan is a pretty big
Oh
name there.
wow. So we
Rich
used to
Swann,
watch him.
yeah.
I have a shirt. Um, wow, that's cool. I have to.
Rich Swan. Um,
Is he? Who did he used to be a tag team with somebody?
yeah, he was a tag team in CZW. Um, he was
Okay.
also a wrestler in the cruiserweight division of WWE for a while.
Okay. Yeah, I have to check
But
out
yeah, he was in
Impact.
a tag team. The with I think the guy's name was Ryan McBride. They were the Irish. I forget what their tag team name was, but
The
they came
Irish
out to like that.
Cruiserweights.
No, in CCW.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the
Oh,
Irish
okay. Sorry, my
Cruiserweights. In
fault.
CZW, he tag teamed with I think it's Ryan McBride, and they came out to like that Irish like dun 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 song.
The song they use for fucking everything when it comes to Irish shit. That
Yes.
is it Dropkick Murphys or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, there was I think it was my ex that her and me were talking about that at one point where she's like, yeah, they use it for fucking everything. I'm like, they do use it for everything. Anytime something Irish is happening, they're like, let's just fucking play Dropkick Murphys song.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's funny. That is too funny.
So yeah, they're two big names.
Okay.
Who else is there?
Didn't Hulk Hogan own them at one point? The TNA Impact, whatever.
He, I
Was a
mean
part of
that
it.
was like a decade ago. He was a part of the organization.
Yeah.
Um, he never owned them or anything.
Oh,
But
I thought he was like the in charge guy, or not like literally, but like as much as Eric Bischoff was in charge of WCW, to an extent.
yeah. Um, who else do they have? They have technically they have Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, the
Okay.
Good Brothers. Um, they have a working relationship with. Currently, they have a working relationship um, with AEW,
Oh,
where the Good Brothers pretty consistently show up on AEW, and they've had AEW wrestlers over
that's
on
actually pretty
Impact.
cool. Because
Yeah,
the concept of like taking down the big giant, you want to probably work together, huh?
yeah. So
Not that they're set on
they're
that.
basically like they're doing things different. Like they were like we're not going to be this organization that's going to pretend like all these other organizations don't exist
Yeah.
and whatnot. And if there are opportunities that are mutually beneficial, then we're going to take them.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's what WWE was doing too, because it's like they had the whole. Because I know there was a CM Punk they were talking to CM Punk about it with the whole Chris Jericho being on the Broken Skull sessions, and they're
Yeah,
like, he's like, yeah, Vince McMahon isn't scared of AEW. He just there's no reason why it shouldn't be like a mutual beneficial thing where they could just be
right.
like, have this guy on here, and I mean, Chris Jericho's a big name in WWE in both. I mean, in both things.
Yeah, I think for AEW that it's fantastic for them. I
Mm-hmm.
think for WWE there is a point of retention's not the right word, but there is a point where um, it is significantly more beneficial for AEW than it is for WWE. So I don't. So there's a lot of things that WWE is just not going to do or say because it benefits the AEW side significantly more than it would benefit or help
Yeah.
WWE. In fact, it could hurt them. So there's only going to be certain things that are done with them, whereas promotions like Impact and AEW, they can have more of a working relation. Like they can have a working relationship where guys can go and do storylines and things on both shows, whereas you'll never see that with WWE because that
Yeah.
doesn't help WWE enough. Um, the benefit side for WWE is nowhere near enough for them to do that.
Yeah.
Um, which is fine, which makes sense. It's a business decision. I will also say that I wanted to throw in there before we continue. You were talking about like, oh, that's cool about working relationship and all that. TNA is actually having a pay per view tonight, um, Rebellion, uh, and the main event is Rich Swann, who's the Impact World Champion, against Kenny Omega, who's the AEW World Champion,
Okay,
and
yeah, because I know when you
it's
said Kenny Omega, I'm like, wait, I've definitely seen him on AEW.
yeah. I believe, if I recall correctly, it's being booked as a title versus title
Oh shit.
feud.
So they are
Um,
working in like integration with him.
yeah, no idea how that's going to end or turn out. When it first started happening, so here was the big thing, right? That
Mm-hmm.
no one had any idea that they were in talks with each other. There was any possible thing. But then the night Kenny Omega won the AEW championship, he had his friend Don Callis there, who is the head booker or owner or whatever for Impact, and he helped Kenny Omega screw John Moxley over, won the championship,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were like running out because they screwed Moxley. They were running out, and one of the or one of the interviewers was trying to grab an interview while they were going to their car, and he was like, "What just happened? Why did you do this? Why are you here? Blah blah blah." And so then he goes, "You want to find out why we did what we did and why I'm here? Tune into Impact on Tuesday, and you'll find out the world
Okay.
champ's going to be there." And they just pull off, and that ends
Yeah,
the show.
that's
And you're
pretty
like,
cool.
"What the fuck? What?
Yeah,
What do you mean the world champ? Like he's
and
going to be on Impact
it's
next
not like
week?"
a buyout thing. It's just like they're just working together. That's pretty cool. It's better
Yeah,
than what WCW and WWE thing did, which they kind of worked it in with the invasion and all that, which was the fun part of that. But to be able to have a limitless supply of be like, we can bring so and so over and have this person over, that's pretty cool. I like that.
yeah. And so I wonder if I wonder what direction that it's exactly going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested. It seemed like they're obviously building up this very heel Kenny Omega, and I was wondering if they were going to start going down this route of Kenny Omega being um, the champion's champion for a while and
Mm-hmm.
being the
On
the
both shows.
yeah. So here's also the thing, right? Kenny Omega being like the champion of champions, the real champion of the world. He's the AEW world champion. He's
Mm-hmm.
the AAA world champion, which is an organization in Mexico.
Yeah.
Um, and like if he wins this, then he's the Impact world champion. So now he's like he is the world champion in three completely different organizations. So there is like a thing of like, are they building up for him to have like 3, 4 world championships, um, and he's like going to be going around essentially to these different promotions, being like the world champion.
Yeah.
Almost how like back in the day there was
Yeah,
all these organizations that
I
were
was just
under
about to say that.
NWA.
I was just gonna say, I was like, it sounds like the old days of like the promoters and everything, where it's like going from place to place and just as soon as you said that, I was like, that's what it reminds me of, like the old school, different regions and all that. That's
Yeah,
fucking awesome.
I think that's what they're going for. Eventually he'll lose those.
Yeah.
Eventually he'll lose those championships, and they'll go back to being on their respective things. But right now, to me, it seems like he's going to be like this traveling world champion that
It's cool
has it.
integration. I didn't even realize they
Yeah,
were doing
it's really cool.
that. What was the other thing I was gonna mention to you, which I kind of scoffed at and was like, you need something better than that. I think I texted to AJ. Oh, the Miz is saying he wants to play Johnny Cage, going back to Mortal Kombat. He wants to be.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think I think it depends on how they want to portray Johnny Cage. If they want Johnny Cage to be this pompous asshole who thinks of himself, cares about the money, um, is like wearing all this stuff and is like super
Yeah.
like
I mean, he
richy,
fits.
famousy stuff. I think that like Miz could do a really good job with that.
He fits, and I think he'd do a good job. But I just don't like him. I just never liked the Miz. I never really was. It's not anything against him. Like I've always liked John Morrison better than him. I guess because he sells things a lot better and does a lot cooler shit. But I don't know. I don't really have an issue with Miz. I just don't think. I'm like, I don't want you in this movie. I don't. I just don't. I'm not. I'm not like a. I don't know. It's like when Edge, before Edge became rated R. I'm like, he's just not really that big of a guy. And I mean, like, even with the Bad Bunny match at WrestleMania, that was fucking great. And that match was
Yeah.
awesome. And I'm like, that was great for Miz and to just do that match and be like, just fucking really sell it really well. I loved that. But I don't know. It's something about Miz. I'm like, I don't really want you to be in this movie. I mean, he could do a great job. I have no problem with saying that. Like, oh, I don't think he'll do a bad job. But just like, couldn't there be somebody else we can get, like a real actor or a real like karate guy, a real kind of martial arts person?
Yeah, no, I mean it's totally it's totally respectful, for you to, and it's
Yeah.
totally fine for you to be like, oh, I don't want him in the movie because I feel like there's someone better who could take the
Yeah.
part or whatever, and like you're not doing it to
It's
be
really
like,
not. Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
hate
want,
him.
yeah, you're not like, I don't want him in the movie because I hate him or he just sucks in general or
Yeah.
whatever,
It
which is
feels
fine.
more of like I mean, I know he's been in he's in a version of the Marine, right? Like, isn't he in one of the Marine movies? Where
Oh my
he's
God,
like,
he's been in like 5 Marine
yeah.
movies.
So I'm
Like
sure he
they
can be able to
built the
do that.
franchise around him.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd be able to do that, no problem. But I'm like, I don't know. Couldn't we look at other people before we just go right to Miz? And then, I have no problem with him at all. But I don't know. I'm excited to see a lot of other characters that are going to be in the series.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it'll be cool.
Yeah. What else? What else can we talk about? We haven't talked about the two things I thought we'd talk about, which was Overwatch and Marvel. Because Overwatch, I'm quite ready to be moving on to 2. And I don't know if I told you before, but I'm so ready to move on to 2. I'm ready to go.
Why is that?
I honestly think it's because of the co-op missions. The co-op missions
Okay.
are going to be a big deal for me because I think a lot of the issues I have playing the game now is just randoms being dumb and just being like, yeah, I play this like Call of Duty, and I'm like, you're not supposed to really play it like Call of Duty. You're supposed to play it like a team. It's the same reason like I get frustrated with Siege. Siege is like there's a lot of idiots that play this game. Like, I mean, most games I play now actually, it's not a game where you can go, yeah, you can just like, it's not Call of Duty. You can't just run in and take out everybody and be like, yeah, I'm awesome, or I'm a badass or whatever. Because when it comes to, and I know you don't play them, but Apex Siege, you do play Overwatch. But those games are games that's like, you are a pivotal role in a team that needs to work together in order to win, if you want to win. Siege is very, tactically simulation. You can't sit there and take bullets all day. You you have a set specific, you know, amount of gadgets or bullets to use. You can't just be like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking, you know, that's one of those games where like you get a headshot, you're done, you're dead. It's not like a, oh, you got a headshot, but you have to take 2 more headshots and you might be okay. It's just like you take a headshot, you're done. And sometimes the bullet drops or the bullet trajectory sometimes will just be like crazy. Just be like, oh, you got hit in the head instantly, you're done. You get go wait for the next round. It's that kind of concept of like a lot of the concept. And I mean, I was playing with AJ today, where it's just like you can't just sit there and go, I'm going to go wild card, lone wolf, fucking Chuck Norris on everybody, and fucking, you know, pull some Arnold Schwarzenegger shit and just fucking beat the shit out of everybody. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
With Overwatch, it feels like that for me, where it's just like I get really frustrated in dealing with people that don't know. And I mean, sometimes even in co-op missions, where it's just like you sit there and you go, why would you, you know, there was one where it was like the new event right now that they're doing. One of the challenges was like, the closer you are, like if you get really close to an enemy, it does that like electricity thing that hurts you on top of their actual attack. So it's like me and AJ were playing, and some guy picks like a Reaper. Like, what? Why would you do that? Reaper is a close range, you know, guy. So like you have to get really close and deal a lot of damage. But in order to deal a lot of damage, you need to take a lot of damage. And it's not like he can just heal himself. It's like that. We sat there and the guy picked Reaper. We're like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing right now? Do you realize what kind of mode you're doing? Like, what kind of game mode you're doing? Think about what you got to do in order to, like, me and AJ would go in and go, we need a healer, we need a tank, we need some kind of person to set up. Because I think one of the ones was like the empathy challenge, where it was like, if other people, if one enemy gets hit, everyone else gets healed. All the other enemies get healed. And we got to the point where like it was me and him not being able to talk to the other two, who didn't want to focus on one person. So you focus on one person, then focus on the next person, then focus on the next person. Like, it's one of those things where like people don't think like, oh, we need to actually work together to get this thing done if we want to get it done, because otherwise it's gonna take forever. Because you can't just kill everybody like you normally would. You have to actually plan out your attack and go, we attack this guy, then we focus on the big dude all by ourselves. Otherwise, if we attack someone else, he's going to get healed. Like, it's just like, it's one of those things where when I do Overwatch 2, I want to have a group of 3 other people who are going to be able to talk to me, who are going to be able to, like, I'm interested in the lore already for Overwatch. So I'm like, I'm already set. Like, I'm already excited to see what happens next. I want to know, you know, where they're at in the story and what's going on now. I'm excited for that. They don't need to really tell me that. It's the concept that I just want to play a game and feel like I am enjoying it for the story, and not so much like, I don't know. I'm getting worn down on complete idiots. And I know you probably don't deal with that because you have OWchies that play with you all the time. So you don't really have to deal with that so much. But it's that concept of when you do solo queue people, it's you're going to get a bunch of idiots sometimes. Which I don't want to be like, oh, you're still learning, or oh, you're not very good at the game, but you're having fun. I get that, but there's some things where you're like, just use it's still a teamwork based game. You don't have to sit there and go, I can do everything myself.
Yeah, and I will also absolutely say that, like, part of the reason why I haven't soured on it, you know, is because I have, you know, a large group of friends that that I play with, and like, in all honesty, I almost never get on if at least like 2 of them aren't like, you know what I mean, like if at least like 3 of us aren't, if at least 3 of us aren't gonna play, then like a lot of times I don't even bother getting on.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like with I've played with the one guy I play with, Jake, and other one Justin. I play like Warzone with them, and I introduced them to Overwatch. They've tried to get me to play Paladins, which is kind of like a carbon copy of it. It's not as good. I have fun playing it. It's not a bad game, but it's just like, I'm like, I love Overwatch for the characters. I love Overwatch because Blizzard does things so well. You look at Diablo, you look at StarCraft, all those games are done well. I mean, WoW is still playing. Fucking shout out to Zach, he's still playing that fucking game on stream all the time. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but he's having fun with it at least. I don't know.
It's a huge game.
We were talking about you the other day, me and Zach. Which I hope to have him on here at one point, but I mentioned to him bringing back BYGW. He's like, we're too old for that. I'm like, yeah. I was like, but I don't want to be too old before we do it again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be. I want to be able to at least do it one more time before we are too old to do it. But I don't know. It's not something that's like it needs to happen. It's more of like a trying to feel it out and see how other people feel. And if it's not enough, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. We had fun. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Getting back on Blizzard, I think Blizzard does a great job of what they do. They do really well. They focus on their one game and they put everything into it, whether it's for, in Overwatch's case, 6 years before they put out a new one. They really kind of fine tune one game before they bother to. I mean, you look at Diablo. Diablo, what came out in 1996? They're just coming out with 4 soon. Like 4 is going to come out eventually. Like they've announced 4. Like you look at Call of Duty, they've had at least 20 versions of the game out, and it's just like a year thing. You look at Blizzard and you go, Blizzard takes this thing and it focuses on it and crafts it to be perfect, and then when they're like, we can't do anything else with it, let's make a sequel. 5 years later, you look StarCraft had their first game in like 1997, and then these numbers are probably wrong, and they just came out with like one back in like 2008 or 2010 or whatever. And it's just like StarCraft 2 came out like 15 years later, and it's just like it's exactly the point of like they focus on one thing and make it good, polish it up, and put it out there and go, we're going to keep on continuing updating this game and making it good and making it not feel like we just kind of deserted it. And that's why I loved the fact that Blizzard made this game Overwatch that I fell in love with and didn't realize that I would, because I remember playing the beta and being like, who's this guy and or girl? Finding out Tracer, of course, because I was like, I didn't know what just seeing a picture of it, it's 2021. She, him, he, him, she, her. Sorry, she, her, he, him. That's the I didn't really realize. I was like, this game's gonna be a lot of fun. Not knowing that this game's gonna be a lot of fun if you're, have a group of friends, of course. But yeah, I mean, I've played with other people.
All games are fun if you have a group of friends.
Yeah, that's true. I really wish they'd make like a Baldur's Gate again so we could play. Oh, that was a thing that I was gonna ask you about too. There's that game that you have, and I think I put it on my wish list already. But what's it called? It's like a D&D kind of game.
Gloomhaven?
Yeah, Gloomhaven. I was like, I told Zach, I said, we should get Kibbles together, and us 3 should play some kind of game that we can play together, some either D&D thing. And he's like, oh, I never really played a D&D thing. I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't have to be like a D&D thing, but like a D&D type of game, like, or like some kind of swords and shit and all that stuff. Like, I don't care whether we do it, for a stream or just for fun or record it or whatever. I just wanted to do something with you two.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun game. It is a little long. Like we'll play one mission and it'll take like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
It seems that way.
It's because we jumped into that because we had a weekly we had a weekly board game night.
Oh, okay.
Where we would play different board games, and so we would kind of interchange between playing long form games and playing games that we would just play that one night and then be done. So we would kind of jump back and forth between doing those two.
Yeah.
So like one of the things we had done was like Kingdom Death Monster, and we played that for like multiple weeks before we moved on and played something else. And then we were going to start doing Gloomhaven, and then that was when COVID happened. So then we found that there was they had made like an online version of it, basically, and it plays the same as
board game.
the board game, and we were like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. And so we, now we play it not every week, but we kind of intersperse it between that. We also bought like a bunch of other digital versions of board games to play as well.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of how we came across that, and it is definitely a fun game if you guys want to get it, and I will happily play with you guys.
I was thinking that, or now that I was talking to you about it, there is a game that I might want to do with you guys because it revolves around a 3-man group, but I have to look at see if it's on Steam. But there's it's a bit old, but it is like a kind of RPG-ish. I guess it's RPG-ish, but it's more stable in one section. It's a I forget who I played it with actually. I don't remember who I played it. It might have been James I played it with. That's James was on Xbox. That's how old that was. I can't think of who I played it with, but I'll have to check it out and see if it's on Steam. But it's a Lord of the Rings type of like third person 3-man group kind of thing, and you could play it with the computer, but it wouldn't be as fun. But I have to say, I definitely want to play something like that, very Dungeons and Dragons, World of Warcraft type of atmosphere with Zach and you. But I guess I gotta find the the right game for it, or just something we can play and just kind of not have too much. I don't want to do too much invested into it, but I just want to have kind of like maybe do the what's it called? What's the one that you're doing?
Gloomhaven.
Do that one as like a long-term thing, but maybe do like if I can find the Lord of the Rings one, maybe do that one just as like a fun, one-off, and whenever we feel like we're playing it. But that one's kind of fun. I remember playing that one. I don't know if I finished it, but it's a very fun like. There's a dwarf warrior, a human ranger, and I think like an elven sorcerer, and it's just like each person picks one, and then they can kind of customize them as they go, and it's really based in like a 3-man group thing. It's a lot of fun, but I gotta find games like that we would play together. I've been trying to do more and more computer stuff, considering that I have the VR and all that, and I still waiting to find the perfect day to do my Spider-Man stuff, because I found 2 VR games that are Tom Holland movie interactive experiences where you play as him and you get to do all that shit in VR, which would be fun. So
nice.
Yeah, not giving away. It's not that. As I feel like with the podcast, I can say kind of whatever I want, because no one who really watches the videos just goes, I'm gonna sit and watch the podcast. Besides you, I mean, you're the one person I can think of that goes and comments on any kind of podcast, or actually watches all the podcasts. I'm like, oh, that's at least someone's watching them at least, so that's good. I enjoy
That's
that.
me.
I appreciate that. And what else? I was saying
I'm the man. I do that.
Don't say I'm the man. Every time you say I'm the man, it reminds me of my camera got set. What the fuck?
What the fuck, man?
My camera's being all weird now. I had it set up and now it's being weird. I think I messed with it. Hold on. But every time you say I'm the man, it reminds me of Brandon. I'm the man.
I'm the man.
I'm the man.
You got anything to say about that, Brandon? I'm the man.
I'm the man. Oh, shit, I keep messing up. I'm trying to... I wanted to put the green screen behind me because of the fact that I'm also like doing my bed sheet, so it's just like a blank bed. And I'm like, it's a good thing we're doing it now, because I put up a green screen and everything, and I can just do that way. I don't know. I'm giving you a look behind the curtain, as you will. The green curtain.
Oh, shit.
Make more of a reference to Wizard of Oz.
It's a green curtain.
Yeah, get it? Like the Wizard of Oz, Emerald, right? Is it Emerald?
I don't know.
You never seen Wizard of Oz? Come on, man.
I've seen Wizard of Oz, but I don't really remember anything.
Okay.
Like, it's been
It's fine.
decades since I've seen that.
So yeah, I don't know. What else do we talk about besides? Did you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I did. Did you?
I did. I fucking loved it. I loved, and this is the mixed feelings. I've talked to my nieces and nephews, which they're still not fully adults, so they don't their opinion doesn't matter. But my synopsis for the movies or the shows so far is that WandaVision wasn't as good as Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's just me. I just find it that Falcon and Winter Soldier could go anywhere, and WandaVision was kind of stuck in one place, and it kind of like towards episode 3 or 4 out of the 8, you kind of knew where they were going by a certain point, and you're like, all right, just get there already. When you're just kind of teasing us with this stuff, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I didn't really know where they were going by the end of it. I mean, I knew, like, I even told, because I watch it with my mom now, but every Friday when it came out, I told her Friday before we watched it, I'm like, watch. Again, spoilers. I said Friday, I said, Carly's going to die. I said, I know Carly's going to die. I don't know how she's going to die, but she's going to die. She's going to die whether she's a martyr and kills herself, or she's going to die because someone kills her on accident. And of course, I was right. I was like, she's going to die. I know she's going to die because, for one, they're not going to have her around, and two, she's not afraid of dying. She's okay with the fact that it's for the cause, and whatever she's got to do to prove a point is she's going to do. So
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing, like, going into it, that I really that I guess I knew was going to happen was, like, going into it, I was like, yeah, this show ends with Falcon becoming Captain America.
yeah, and I was hoping for that too, but I wasn't really kind of planning on it to be so well done. Because when he shows up in that suit, I'm like, oh my god, that looks just like the that's literally like comic book accurate to his suit in when he becomes the Captain Falcon, as they say in the comic books. They don't call him that, but it's like that's their way to differentiate between Captain America and Captain Falcon, which is better than Black Falcon, I think. Captain Falcon is I think people would get confused with the video game Captain Falcon. Was it? Yeah, Captain Falcon is the yeah.
Falcon Punch.
Yeah. God damn it, you beat me to it. But yeah, I think it's that concept of, I think I knew that was gonna happen, but I didn't think they'd do it that well. And I think they're kind of setting up for this new, like they're doing these series, as these things where they're doing these, setting up these new titles for all these people to feel more official, like being Captain Falcon America or whatever, or having her officially be the Scarlet Witch, or setting up Young Avengers to be like, they had Patriot in the kid who's going to eventually become Patriot is the what's his face, I can't fucking think of the guy's name now. The old black guy who was Captain America, his grandson is eventually a Young Avenger named Patriot, which is the same concept. He has a shield and everything. Or like with Tommy and Billy being
Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah. I couldn't think of the. I was like, no, it's Bradley something, but I couldn't think of.
Yeah, I was trying to think of it, and then I was like, that's it.
But then Billy and Tommy in WandaVision being like, okay, that's Wiccan and Speed, and that's also like, Young Avengers things, or like being able to know already that we're going to have a Ironheart and a Kate Bishop Hawkeye, and it's just like you're kind of setting up these Young Avengers to be like, if eventually they want to keep going with it, they can just add these new people who are the next generation to it, because I'm sure if they really wanted to, when Tom Holland leaves, they'll be like, Miles Morales, here he is, he's the new Spider-Man, enjoy that, and be like, he's part of the next generation of people. Or they're supposed to be doing America Chavez in Ant-Man, I think. Ant-Man is supposed to, which makes sense because
yeah, and Ant-Man is also gonna have Cassie in it.
Yeah, and I think it's America Chavez is supposed to be in that. She was announced to be in something America Chavez was going to be in something, which is, I think, makes sense for Ant-Man because if he's messing with the quantum realm and dimensions and all that shit, that's one thing she does do. She goes from dimension to dimension, like different universes, and I think that'd be an easy way to do that for story, or to be like, oh, you have this person who can literally punch holes into the universe and go through them and just go to a different dimension or a different universe of, you know, a different Earth or a different, whatever. So, and
Miss
then
America.
what was it? Captain Marvel and Miss. Or,
Oh, here you go.
Miss Marvel.
America Chavez will appear in the live-action universe in the film Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Doctor Strange. I know she was in one of them. They were announcing that she was going to be in something. Which, by the way, I've read one of her comics, and I have to say, one of the worst things I've ever read, because it felt like the term what was it? What's the term they use now? They use it all the time on Mr. Sunday Movies. Oh, stay woke, get broke, which is like the concept of be so progressive that everyone just feels very cringy about it. Where it's just like, they're like, she's a lesbian. She's it's just really weird. Like they really try to focus on like she's not your normal superhero. And like there's one point where they're reading about like they're introducing her character and introducing her sidekick, and it's just this dude, and they have to mention in there for some reason that it's her best friend and her helper and her like her guy on the inside, or her her intelligence guy, but they're completely platonic. And it's like, why did you even mention that? If it's such a sidekick thing, why did you mention that they're platonic? You're like really trying to they're like, don't worry, she's gay. She's not like normal superheroes. Like, you know what I mean? Like when they try to like really hard to like sell something to be like, she's different. She's not like normal people. It's like trying to make like with the thing I had a big deal with Fantastic Beasts was like mentioning that Dumbledore was gay. I'm like, okay, that doesn't change his character at all from him being a good wizard or him being a good teacher. He's still a fucking wizard regardless. He's not now a gay wizard. He's still a wizard. He's still the school's main head, wizard. I don't know why you have to mention the fact that he's gay as if it matters. Like, who cares? It's not a thing of like, I don't care for people who are different than me. It's more of like yes, I already know people are different than me. Why are you making it a big thing to make it like, hey, this is a thing? I'm like, okay, regardless if it's true or not, you don't need to make a big deal out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
a lot of people get all uppity about that, where they're like, oh, well, he's like I don't know if you heard about there was a group of comic book superheroes that were coming out. I'm sure you did, where they were like super, super cringy, and they were like new age progressive, and one of them was called Snowflake or something like that, and it's like one was non-binary, and it's just like, I get that you're trying to appeal to these people who are these things because you want someone that they can relate to, but don't do it blatantly and just like shove it in their face. Do it a casual thing and just make it like, hey, this is a thing. It's like Soldier being gay. They didn't make a big deal out of it, but people were like of course the media was like, oh, Soldier's gay. It's like, okay, that doesn't change of who he was as a person. Soldier 76 is still Soldier 76. If he's in love with a man, I don't see how that changes what he does in the field. I don't know how that even matters. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Unless they're literally like he's the main focal point of the story, I'd be like, okay, things aren't working out for him and his love. But that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about whether or not he can save the day and how old he is and how he says Overwatch isn't worth saving anymore. Like, those aren't the main points of his life. Like,
I think it's fine to
have like backstory or have like a.
Yeah, I think it's fine to have a backstory. I think it's fine to come out and announce that he's gay. I do think that particular Marvel comic series that they wanted to launch was a little too
on the nose
and in your face about it.
Snowflake was the one thing that got me. I'm like, no, guys.
But there's a lot, but I could see like they're saying like, oh, he's, if they came out with a they come out with a character that's non-binary, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, and just do
but
it that
like,
way.
yeah, but yeah, and I think like, okay, yeah, he can come out, he could be non-binary, and it could be part of his, story and journey and all that. But I feel
Yeah.
like if it's not, then
You know what it is?
don't bring it up.
Don't make it his sole identity. Like, don't make it that person's sole identity to be gay or be non-binary. Make it
Right.
something that they deal with that can be relatable, but don't make it their main identity. Don't be like, oh, this is our non-binary character. Be like, no, no, no. Just put the person out there, give them their powers, and be like, oh, by the way, and people who actually want to read the comic will find that out. Don't make it a thing to like, come read our book. It's about a non-binary person. It's just like, no, don't do that, because then it just feels like you're reaching. I have no problem with it. It's just like with Tracer. Like, we already knew Tracer was gay, but it's the fact that they do so well of having, I think it's Emily. I don't really remember her name. Emily, her girlfriend.
Yeah.
I've read the comic, but I think it's Emily. But like, they do such a good job of being like, yeah, this is her girlfriend. Don't make a big deal out of it. It's don't make it. Ooh, she's dating a woman. It's just don't really like. It's not about who she's with. It's about who she is as a hero. And I think that's the main point that people they don't focus on. They're like, oh, we're gonna focus on the thing that would make it's like when you look at Stan Lee and how he made the X-Men, and they're like, oh, they have superpowers, and then Chris Claremont came in around like the 90s or the 80s and went, hey, these people are different from everyone else, and this is you should be able to relate because everyone has felt like an outsider at one point. And he kind of drew in that aspect of him being someone who was a military brat and was going from place to place and was like never really fit in, and he goes, I can take that and bring that to X-Men and be like, everyone in this group is different and is looked differently, and that is what makes them relatable, because everyone's known to feel like they're left out, or they're a misfit, or they're someone who doesn't really fit in, or feels like a fish out of water. In this case was like, you could relate that to being black, you could relate that to being gay, you could relate that to be just feeling like you're not accepted as who you are as a person. And I think that's like the X-Men is a perfect example of, they just did it and was like, you can feel this way. You look at Nightcrawler and you're like, oh, that guy has blue skin, and everyone looks at him weird because he looks different from me. And it's that whole concept of just make it a subtle thing that people can at least relate to, feeling left out or feeling judged or treated by their appearance or who they are as a person. I don't know. I don't want to do Marvel's job for them. But like, come on.
Yeah. We never know.
Not to get too, I feel like I got too ranty on that, but I like what Overwatch does with their characters. I don't really worry about who they're dating or who they're married to, or who they're in love with, unless it's another person on the group. Like if Soldier's boyfriend or husband or whatever was in the Overwatch group as well, I'd be like, yeah, I want to hear about that guy. But, Emily's not in Overwatch. I'm like, I don't give a shit about her. I know she's gay. Who cares? Just fucking, she's not helping out in any way. Get her out of here. I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
It's like, really, like, you look at that, because the way I saw it and the way I see it more and more is that Overwatch is like the Avengers. They're a group of people who got disbanded eventually, and they eventually come back. They're a group of special individuals. One's a fucking monkey and a hamster. So it's like, you look at this group of people and you're like, this is like a superhero group. And I like that. So I fell in love with the fucking shit in the beginning.
Fall in love, baby.
Anyway, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite Overwatch character to play as, and who's your favorite Overwatch character in general? Like, who do you like their personality?
My favorite Overwatch character to play is Reinhardt. Yeah, definitely. I'm a definitely Ryan main.
Okay.
In terms of, this is a hard one. Who
you'd want to hang out with?
Who would I want to hang out with? Hmm.
Well, that's all the
I feel
time we
like
have.
Tracer would be cool to hang out with. I feel like
I was trying to cut you off there. Sorry.
Genji would be cool to hang out with. I don't know. Like,
No, but as you were waiting, I was just like, well, that's all the time we
that's
have,
all
I
the
guess.
time. We're just gonna cut them off here.
Genji and Tracer, you said? I
Yeah.
like those two. I don't know. Genji seems very. Genji seems. Genji seems like the type of person you're like, dude, you're way too serious sometimes. It's like just. But I also think like he can be. I don't know. He just seems very like he says things that you're like. I guess his Hanzo too does that, where he's just like says things you're like. You sound like a TV or a movie statement.
Yeah.
But it is a game, so I get that. I don't know. No one's really kind of completely loose when it comes to that game. Maybe Lucio?
Nobody is loosey goosey.
No one is loosey goosey. I'd have to say for me, as far as fighting someone, playing as someone, I don't know. I'm a really big flanker. So it's just like I like doing that kind of stuff because I feel like I can do it on my own. I don't need to focus on anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, I have a hard time with teammates. So like there's been times where with Sombra or with Tracer I can sneak behind the group and kind of throw the team off their formation because I'm kind of getting in there and kind of messing up their setup. There have been plenty of times where and there's one video I have and I've mentioned it plenty of times on the podcast or whatever, where I've done a I think it was what was it? What's the one
know.
map? Anubis. On Anubis, I've captured A as Sombra, and in a matter of maybe a minute, captured B right after A. Like, I've ran from one to the other and been able to capture it before the other team was able to kind of regroup.
Wow, that other team must have been garbage.
Yeah, they weren't completely good. And there's been times where as Sombra they've had a group kind of held up really well, and I was able to get in there and kind of EMP everybody to the point where like, all right guys, move in. And as soon as they move in, I died, but they took the point and won. And I'm like, cool, you guys, as long as you guys got the job done, I was able to just do my move, get everyone kind of discombobulated and get them killed, and then they got in there and took it. So it's one of those things where like I'm very good at kind of throwing formations off.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I would say like Zarya, I just love playing as her because I like getting hit and getting power from that. Like, firing it right back. When it comes to being a tank, I think Zarya is my go-to because I enjoy bubbling up other people and me to get like, the more you hit at me, it's more of like the what's it called?
Because you're secretly a masochist.
Yeah. Well, no, but what is it?
You're like, oh baby, hit me.
I'm rubber and you're glue or whatever. Or
Bounces off of me and sticks to you.
Yeah, sure. Or like
that's what the saying is.
Yeah. I don't know it.
You were just like, yeah.
I think that's it. Does that make sense?
I'm
rubber
for Zarya? And you're
glue.
It bounces off of me and no, it doesn't, because it doesn't.
Well, it bounces off of me, and I fire it right back at you.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not exactly like that, but it's everything you fire at me, I can fire right back at you. Like you're just the concept of just making them more powerful as you
make me more powerful.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll just run out in the open and just get hit on purpose, just to bubble up and get power. But yeah, I think as far as a tank, that's healer. I don't know. I like Batiste. Oh, sorry. I'm going on to who I'd hang out with. Probably Tracer. I'd probably hang out with Tracer just because, I don't know. She just seems cool. And someone else. There was someone else I was going to mention.
She does seem cool.
Who was the other person I would hang out with?
Doomfist.
I was going to say probably Hammond.
Oh, Hammond would be a good one to hang out with.
Yeah, because he's a fucking hamster. He's a fucking hamster.
Who doesn't love hamsters?
I mean, I don't personally in person, but he's an animal who can kind of talk. I don't know. Anyway,
He's got a robot that goes ha
yeah,
ha.
exactly. That's the biggest thing. I would be one of those friends who just want to hang out with him for his robot.
You're using him, you
Yeah,
bastard.
yeah. Anywho, I think we can end it there.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll end it there.
yeah, we can come back. I'd love to have you back on and talk more about stuff because we could honestly talk about whatever. Um, Wrestling, Overwatch, Marvel. Something just fell in my room.
Oh no.
Um, it's okay. It's probably not important because it fell. Um, it wasn't strong enough. That's how we do things in this dojo. Um, so yeah, I thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. I feel so
And
wanted.
and they can watch you and your gang of hoodlums or hooligans on OWchies, which is spelled. I'm gonna put the description of your channel in the description thing, but it's spelled OWchies.
Yeah, so we took Ouchie and changed it from OU to OW because we play Overwatch.
Oh, that would make sense. I didn't think that the U was just changed to a W. I'm stupid.
Yeah, so it's spelled Ouchie, but just with the U as a W because we play
Overwatch,
Overwatch.
yeah.
So it's like OW Ouchies.
So
Like,
yeah, you
yeah.
can check out Kibbles and his merry men and women on YouTube. And
Yeah, we got lots of fun.
yeah, I like a lot of the episodes. A lot of episodes were super awkward but funny, where there's something said in a way that they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's just like, it gets funny. I like a lot of the stuff that you guys do.
Yeah, that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, just wait. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, I
Oh, we
think
get an exclusive.
you get an exclusive. I think it's next week.
Okay.
For some reason, for some reason, Ollie brings up the fact that she's seen Overwatch porn, and
Oh.
in it,
Well,
Farah has a massive
penis.
ding dong.
You can
Yeah.
say penis.
Okay.
That's the
Farah has a
that's the
massive
science term.
penis.
I don't think ding dong is the science
And it's
term.
not. And so then that turns into a whole conversation about, oh my God, this is a thing. And so I went to go edit it, and each video is like 2 to 3 minutes. I broke it up by logical like parts of the conversation that we have because the conversation goes all over the place.
Okay.
And based from that, and yeah, there's like 6 episodes of that because it goes from
I mean,
she has a penis to like,
it's a big penis.
is it a real penis or is it like a strap on? And then it goes to like, well, what are our preferences in porn? And then what's the category of this? And then our friend Haxatrax wasn't in the conversation originally. So then he joins the conversation and we're explaining to him what we were talking about.
It sounds like you guys are getting a dangerous territory.
It was dangerous territory. There was some stuff that I was like, I just have to bleep this whole like sentence because like,
oh, I've been there before.
I can't put this here.
I've had oddly enough, and Bones understands because he edits, but he still said something. There's the one video of Dead by Daylight that we did where he had said something that I could not even it was so fucked up I could not put it on there because I had to bleep it all out and be like, yeah, dude, I can't even have people. Even the thought of that imagery, I'm like, I can't even have someone put that in there. And it's one of my favorite videos that I've done because of another bit. But he says something, I'm like, you'll hear me just bleep out the whole sentence, and all of a sudden you'll hear like one word at the end of it, and it's just like, yeah, I can't do any of that, dude. I've been there before. That is just And I mean, Ollie's not too, she's fine. I mean, she knows what she's doing. Everyone's stumbled upon Overwatch stuff before. I mean, I have, if I was looking for it. But anyway, we're gonna cut it off there.
Yeah, we're gonna cut it off there.
I thank you for being on here. I do actually want to personally thank you for being there Friday because that was oh my god, it was so much fun. I had so much fun acting like a fucking idiot, but I appreciate you so much for even stopping by.
I forget what I was doing. I was scrolling through something. I saw that you were on, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And so I,
The problem is now is that I told AJ, I was like, oh, that was so much fun, and it wore me out so much for doing 4 hours of it. And I go, and Friday I have to do the second game. And I was like, shit. But I appreciate you showing up and stopping by. Zach said he was going to, and he stopped by, I think, in the beginning, and then kind of like was in and out at some point. And I was like, oh, at least he showed up, because Zach is always like, oh yeah, I have to stop by your channel. I always see you going online. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. I said it, like, every time I see him on there, I just kind of chill and talk to him. He does that thing where like he repeats everything I put. Like every time you write something in Twitch, or chat, he'll just write something or he said it out loud.
yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Oh, look at that! Oh, sorry, that's for us later. Okay. All right.
I just so happened to come across that picture, and I was like, "Oh, look."
That's cool. So thank you for being on. If you guys are watching now, check out OWchies. I have to get back on it and play with you guys again. But I will see you guys later. Thanks for stopping by and watching. And Kibbles, again, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you down the road.
Yeah, I like that. I like the microphone there because it's like, it feels very professional. Not that you need to see the mic, but it also blocks my bed, which is a fucking mess. That was another thing. Streaming will be easier. I'm gonna really work on, for streaming, to work on my room, make it look presentable so I don't have to do a green screen every time. Because I could just put up whatever, like that. Or that.
Reese's Puffs, peanut butter jelly.
Or this. Yeah. But yeah, essentially, I think what happened was, if I go into detail, and I'll go more into detail when I get Kibbles on the podcast.